This is a Not Just A Guy production. Welcome one and all to Not Just A Guy, a show about struggling in storytelling by a struggling storyteller. I'm your host and the aforementioned struggling storyteller, not just a guy, the guy, Garrett Briones. Welcome to my podcast. I have been trying to make it in the podcast game for a little while. I've had two previous podcasts. Both were pop culture related, one being called Masters of the Media, which lasted for a good 30 some odd episodes. That was followed by Comics Decode, which lasted one episode. Both of those were shows that I did what a lot of people want to do, which is talk about pop culture, talk about the films and comics and TV shows that we are spoiled with, that there are so many and that are so widely recognized and widely known about. And I wanted to get in that game, and then I didn't. And the reason why being I fell out of love with talking about that stuff. Like, I still love that stuff. I read comics. You can look at my bank account and see how much money I spend on comic books. I love movies. I am a filmmaker. I should have started by saying that. But this ties into what the whole point of the show is, which this show is it's a space. It's a safe space. It is a place for storytellers, whether that be, you're an actor in a film, or you're a director of a TV series, or like an episode of TV, or you're a writer of a book, or you're a comic book artist, or you are an artist, or you're, an actor on the stage, you're a professional wrestler, some kind of storyteller. This show is for those storytellers. This show is for storytellers by a storyteller, because I think any storyteller, which I'm going to try my best to not just keep beating that word into your head 1,000 times, I think we all know that it is a rough road for our art to be seen. It's interesting. We're in a time where there are so many outlets for art. There's 1,000 streaming services. There are places where you can upload your webcomic. You can do all these different things. It's interesting because it's hard. It's so much easier to get your work out there, but to really have it be seen and to have this idea of making it in your industry, mine being film, it's not an easy path for anybody. For some people, even those that you think have an easy path, there's still work being done for people to get their work seen, to gain that point as a creative where not only are you able to financially support yourself, you are able to kind of just be you and get your work out there without having to, it's always a struggle to get your work out there, whether it's, getting a deal, getting some kind of distribution, all these different things. It ain't easy. And you would think that, you just join this industry, you get fresh out of school, you hop into whatever industry, like I said, mine's film, and it's just, okay, kid, let's get you making the pictures. And my whole idea with the show is for it to be a living document, to document my journey as a storyteller. I want to be a director, but I like to write my stuff. So what if I take off more as a writer than I do as a director? Or, for fun, I like to act and stuff. I enjoyed doing that in college and when I went to film school, which we'll touch upon that in a second. But what if somehow my acting took off? I think that would be interesting to chart and interesting to see that how that change, how will I still get my stories across that I want to tell? And I think that this is also a space where I want to invite on creators I know, creators I don't know, and speak to them about their struggles, how they got to where they are, what point are they at in their journey, in their career, and what are their aspirations, what have they learned, what were the low points, what did they learn from the low points. I feel like this show could really be a place to give an idea and an expectation of any storyteller, any creative, anybody that wants to put their stories out there. But also realize, a big part of why so many people do end up kind of giving up is because of that financial aspect, is not being able to make it. I want to learn from people because, and I'll elaborate on this a little bit more in a second here as well. I work a standard 9 to 5 right now, and it is so hard to be a creative and to really define that time to carve out for my creativity. It is so hard to do that within the parameters of a 40 hours a week job, and it is my hat is off to anybody that can do that, because I'm struggling to do so. I want to give a little bit of background before I kind of talk about where I'm at. But as I said up top, my name is Garrett Briones. I am a filmmaker. I hail from the Central Valley of California, a very small town called Porterville. Not many people know what that town is, and people there usually kind of get into an agricultural biology kind of background, but they learn about those things and then they leave. I mean, some people stay in Porterville, which is, if you choose, I don't begrudge anybody that stayed there, but for me, to bring it to my field, to I'm a big Star Wars guy. I was Luke Skywalker. I know this analogy, this has been made to death. Every white male like myself, half white male, make this comparison of themselves being, I was Luke Skywalker looking out at the two suns of Tatooine, which is, I'm a Star Wars guy, so of course I'm going to make that comparison. But I always knew a small town, as much as I do love my home and I love visiting there, being in there for the rest of my life was never going to be something that I was into. I was in AP classes, honor classes, I was in choir, I was choir president. I was in two of my high school choirs. I was in two of them consecutive. I was in both our concert and chamber choir, which are our highest ones. But I knew I never wanted a job in anything. I never had any aspirations of using that knowledge to impart it on anybody or get into any of those fields like history or anything like that. When I was younger, I had thought to myself, oh, well, I would love to be like an archaeologist or a paleontologist because I do love learning about history. And then I realized, well, why do I want to be those things? What is it that's really drawing me to them? And I was like, oh, well, it's because I love Jurassic Park and I love Indiana Jones. Those are some of my, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. I mean, the whole Indy, series, but Last Crusade is one of my most inspirational movies for me. And I found myself being drawn to those, and I was like, whoa, well, it's because of the power of those stories, the power of, even at a young age, I was like, oh, it's because like I just loved how those movies turned out. Like, that's why I wanted to do it. And so, I would see that on my like DVDs that I had, and then later my Blu-rays. Oh, there's like special features. Like, what is that? And it would show behind the scenes on filmmaking, and getting to see a director talk about how they wanted to bring the script to life, and you see them on set and all these different things. And I was like, that's something I would love to do. I've always loved to write in different classes, like in English class. I always loved to do that, write stories. And I always have found myself in leadership positions, as I mentioned earlier, choir president. Almost always teachers would just make me the group leader in projects, just kind of matter of fact, or I would kind of just fall into that position, just as we started to get the work done. And so then that eventually led me to, after applying to some other schools, some things falling apart, falling through, that led me to Columbia College Hollywood, which is a film school in it used to be located in Tarzana, California. That campus has closed down. They are going through a name change and they're spread out through different areas. But I found that place, and it just really opened my eyes to, okay, this is the place for me. It was a smaller school, it was a 2-story building, but I had a smaller student body. But I tell you, that was and it sucks because of the pandemic. I really only got 2018 and 2019 I was there on grounds for the whole time, but then 2020 I only got about 3 months on ground, and then the school shut down for COVID, and then the rest of my college career was just on Zoom. And even then, I feel like that's really when my struggles as a storyteller kind of started. When I started to realize, like, this, not even just the COVID of it all, but I didn't get to make a thesis film, for all the years I was there, all the classes, they were preparing us from writing, directing, sound, all these things, kind of telling us, the end of all this, you're going to make a thesis film. You're going to, your last 3 quarters at the school, you're going to be doing pre-production, production and post-production on your thesis film. I had these lofty aspirations more so than expectations, and I was going to make a short film that was going to be a kind of my superhero character I had created. I've had with me since probably middle school. Yeah, I would have created this character in middle school, and I was going to make it about them, and I was going to do this awesome 15-minute short film, really as sort of like a, get this out there as a calling card, and then I can make it into a feature down the road, which I want to do. And then I had the hardest time raising money for it. I had no producer on it. I reached out to a bunch of producers, and none of them, they were already, we didn't have a ton of producers at my school. And so they were all booked. They were on other projects, other thesis films. And so I kind of had to scramble for, make a budget, even though I had no experience doing so. None of my classes have really prepared me for that. And that's not really my field. That's not what I'm in. I'm in the writing, the directing, the acting side of things. That's what I've always been about. I was a directing emphasis. That's what I have my degree in. The creative side, I could almost not even focus on the creative for the film because I was racking my brain around how I was going to raise money for it and thinking I was going to have to do, raise as much as I could and then do a lot out of pocket. And I ultimately couldn't do it. I wanted to do it so badly. I really believed in the script at the time. And I had a lot of people. I was putting together a really good team. The person that was the Christian Hunley. He was the cinematographer at my school. That's what he got his degree in. And he was just the coolest guy. He's one of the hardest workers I know. He is always out there doing something creative. He captures some of the most amazing images I've seen. I believe right now he's working on a documentary. He was he was who I was really working with on that project, and he was, always on top of scheduling, always making sure he was getting information from me. I was always making sure I got information to him, and he was awesome on that. And then also my girlfriend, Emily Cunningham, she was my AD, and she was my rock through the whole thing. She helped me through that because I was wanting to rip my hair out because it was killing me. I couldn't focus on the creative because I was so absorbed in the, having to worry about the money, which is, always something that you have to worry about with these things, with making a project like that, kickstarting or, GoFundMe, all these different, there's, 1,000 different ways. Seed and Spark, I believe actually I was using Seed and Spark. I had another superhero character that I had recently come up with, who I'm still trying to get a short of off the ground. I had that, and we had but the thing was, this time around we had no crew. We had no crew and we had no equipment. And so we were just gonna have to shoot it on our iPhones, which is a valid way of doing so, especially if we were using Filmmaker Pro. And we shot the whole thing in the span of 3, 4, 5 days. And I wasn't feeling it. It just did not work for me. I knew I wasn't gonna feel good showing it to the room. And because you have to screen it with the instructors and the other students, I just knew it was dead on arrival. As much as I love the hard work that we put in, and as well as one of my best friends, Dylan Berkey, who is not in film, but he is an artist. He's always been a talented artist. I've always loved watching him draw, and he would always give me some of his drawings back in middle school and high school. And now he's getting in sort of 3D artistry, things like that. And at the time, he made a domino mask for me for the film, and then he made this full helmet for one of the characters. And we really put in a lot of work on that, but it just wasn't clicking. But I still keep coming back to it because I really like that the concept for that idea, and I really think that there is a lot to do with it. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I found that if I was going to have to do it in such the strict parameters, that it was just going to be the two of us, and it was going to not be like everyone else's projects. I was like, well, then let's do something different. Let's have fun with it. Like, if we're just treating this as a slog, or if we're not gonna just embrace it and have fun with it and realize that this is more for us than anything, then why even do it? Or what, that was the point to do it. That was the why. I'm always looking for the why in everything, in the stories I tell and the stories I love, always trying to figure out the why. So we made this project Undie that I think we're still really proud of. We made it with a friend of mine at the time, and we just infused it with so much fun and and just a reverence, but also some heart as well. And it was such a great time. And so, it wasn't something I sent off to festivals, not because I wasn't proud of it, but also because we had a copyrighted song in it, because, we were just showing it to the room, and we were going to get around to making a version of it that we could release without the copyrighted song, but we just never came to fruition for various reasons. And so then I found myself, I was at the time graduating college on my computer, and I was working a part-time job at Lowe's, and that was a job that taught me a lot. That was really my first real job. I had done like freelance, jobs before that, but Lowe's I learned, you learn from all aspects of life, and you carry different things from certain points of your life to other things. And that one taught me a lot about teams and a lot about leadership and what kind of leadership works best, and what I can carry, what kind of leadership I don't really jive with, things like that. All that to say, I was just kind of like, okay, well, what's next? I find myself it's June 2021. I'm, over hundreds of, over 100 miles away from the area that is most associated with the field I want to be in. I have no real film I can use as a calling card. I don't have any. I lost out on like PA experience. I missed out getting to be on sets or to make shorts that I could shoot while at the school using school equipment. I lost all that, and I found myself just kind of lost a little bit. And so for the remainder of that year, I saved up money, and then 2022 I finally moved back down to LA. And 2022 was, maybe from a creative standpoint, one of the hardest years I ever had. And I got a job that was more, that I still have to this day. I didn't have it for a little bit. I was let go as the company was reshifting and refocusing, but then I was brought back a few weeks later. And it's a job that is tangentially related to film. It has to do with like film equipment and stuff like that, which I will be honest right here, right now, I don't. When it comes to the technicality of the equipment, I'm not super well versed in that. That's just not the field of film that I'm in, but the job doesn't require me to be super savvy with all that stuff. More so, but it helps that I have a shorthand and I do know certain things about the equipment. I found myself in that job, so I was at least very tangentially related to film, and working that job, I should say, rather, put me in a point where I could tangentially get a film gig. I did get my first ever PA gig because I was in the right place at the right time because of the job. And so it did get me a day as a PA, which was an interesting experience, which is similar to even Lowe's. It taught me, okay, this is what I want to do on a set. This is what I don't want to do on a set. For example, I think he was the AD. I'm just going to say it. I am a very warm man. I'm a very hot man. I'm a hot man and I'm a warm man. I'll let you figure out in what ways I mean both. But I sweat a lot, especially when I'm in a situation like that one, which is kind of new to me, which I'm not walking on eggshells, but I'm a little nervous. I was nervous because the director and the producer really took a chance. They were very nice men, and they gave us, myself and my friend at the time, they gave us an opportunity. They didn't have any sort of resume for us, but they were like, you know what, we're going to give you guys a job because we see that we can see your work ethic in this other field, so we're going to give you guys this PA gig because you went to school for film, like you need to start racking up the gigs. And so eternally grateful to them. But I believe this man was the AD who he noticed I was sweating on the day. He had to point that out in front of everybody because I was wearing a shirt where you could see that I had sweat stains under my armpits, and he had to point that out. And he had to make a joke about it because I was standing. My friend and I were standing off to the side, just kind of waiting for our next, the next time someone needed our help. And he just had to make a joke about that, and he had to draw attention to it. He could tell I was nervous, all these different things. And then not even like a minute or two later, he tried to diffuse the situation by going, "Oh, I sweat too." But it's like, okay, man, but you already know I'm one of the lowest people on the totem pole here, and you already had to kind of, for no reason, shine a light on that, something I'm insecure about, and he not say sorry. I mean, he did say like, well, yeah, like, oh, I sweat too, and it's like, okay, but you that didn't get said in front of everybody. And then he had me go get him like an omelet or something like that, and to this day I still wish I hadn't, but I don't know, I just did it because I was working there But I wish I hadn't run and gotten it for him, because that is just, to me, just so disrespectful and just not how I want to ever make someone feel on a set of mine, whether it's a virtual set, because I'll get into kind of what I'm working on at the moment. That was such a learning experience in every way, how to treat people. Like I said, the director and the producer, they were the textbook example of how to treat people. They were kind, they were inviting, they were warm. They invited me over to come and look at the monitor, be right behind the camera, to get real experience and watch them work. They were the textbook example of how I wish this industry always was. And this other guy, he was the exact example of how I never want to be, because that is something that I don't like about this industry, is that it is so, standoffish, that there is this, everyone thinks it's like high noon, and that it's like a gun, it's like a gunfight. It's a shootout, that you have to always be on top, that you have to put down other people to stay at your point, and that even with success, you just have to, all you are worried about is more success, even if it comes at the detriment of other people, that you have to put them down and make them feel bad and push them out and not let them in, because you're so worried about your quote unquote your spot. And I just think that is never what I want this to be about. I never want to be so worried about me making it that I just push aside other people who could have, just as valid, if not, every story is valid that people want to tell, but I never want to push people away just so I can protect my stories and protect my ability to tell them. And I want to tell stories like the one I just told as I traverse through this industry, just to give people who are in similar boats or are thinking about getting into the industry, things like that. I want them to know, like, this is what to expect, or this is what I'm going through. How is that similar to what you're going through? I have so many friends and so many colleagues that I would love to have on, and that I'm going to be reaching out to be on, because I would love to talk to them about what are their struggles and how are they persevering through them, or if they aren't, what do they think they can do to work on them? So like right now, my biggest one is the the idea of FOMO. I feel like I am so on the outside looking in when it comes to my work right now, because my job takes up 40 hours of my week. At the moment, I have about an hour drive in the morning to get there, and then I have anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half drive, if I'm lucky, drive back after work at, getting off at 5:00 and having to make that drive here. And then, I get back and I want to do something physical. I love working out. That's something that's really important to me. It's been important to me since about high school. I'm not the biggest guy, but I pride myself on my dedication and my, the sweat equity I have put in. And it is nice to get compliments from people to see that it has been taking off. And, my body dysmorphia will never let me, think that I'm in a good spot. But I love doing that. So, I want to do that after work. I like to do that at least 4 days a week. And by the time I'm done with that, it's hard to, bring up the energy to want to write, 10 pages or, start to, have a production meeting on something. It's really hard to want to do that. And then by the time the weekend rolls around, that's probably when I should be trying to get PA gigs or, get on sets or shoot my own things. And it's like that. By that point, I'm just so beat down, and it's like, I'm just so constantly in awe at my friends and, other people that I follow, which also you can't take social media at face value. You're only really seeing, the best or what people are letting you in on, as far as anything that isn't the best. I'm just so in awe when I just see these people week after week, day after day, just on these shoots and getting these jobs. And but at the same time, my inability to detach myself from that really starts to kick in, because I feel like crap when I feel happy for them, and then I feel like a bad person for almost feeling jealous, to see them. I'm happy for their success. I'm happy to see them, see people that I went to school with and that I'm friends with, making money in this industry. I'm like, more power to you, because I know it's not easy, but it does kill me, because I'm like, have I just not tried hard enough? Am I not putting in the work? Am I letting laziness and fear get to me? And then once you let those thoughts creep in, it becomes a game of, am I not good enough? is it because I'm letting myself get so lazy and just kind of enjoy, whatever peace and rest I can find? Am I letting myself down? But also, am I just not good enough because I'm not willing to put in that extra work, I guess? Like, what am I getting out of this? Not that I need to get something out of it, but is what I'm doing worth it? Is what I find myself, and it sucks because I have to, my girlfriend and I have to pay rent. We need money. I need the job that I have, but I don't like the job that I have, if I'm being quite honest. I need these other outlets. I need this podcast. I need other things related to it. I have I have a YouTube channel related to this. I have some other ventures, but I'm putting in the work to get those things off the ground. But what am I really doing? I need the job because I need to pay money, or pay money. Like, I need to pay for rent and things like that, and necessities, groceries, food. Is it, coming at the expense of me feeling fulfilled in life? Because I don't. I really don't at the moment, and it kills me. I mean, I love my life. Like, I love my family, I love my friends, but as far as my career, as far as my life as a storyteller, I feel like crap. Again, I feel so much like I'm rudderless. I'm spinning my wheels. Like, I'm not trying hard enough. Like, I am lesser than. And it kills me. I don't want this to only be a downer, because what I have found is that it used to be easier to do so, but I find those little moments at work where there's not a ton for me to do, and I can bring out my laptop. I'm currently working on an audio drama with one of my best friends, which I think hopefully if they listen to this, they know that's probably one of the first times I've referred to them as such, but I think that they are. One of my best friends, Johnny Rome, they are producing it because they gave me the idea. In 2022, I had so many short films I wanted to make. I had all these crazy ideas. I had a supernatural sort of western. I had a ghost romantic comedy thing. I had all these different stories. I wanted to remake Undie. But on a bigger scale and with a little more resources. And all those plans just didn't come to fruition. One, because of my job, and then two, I wanted help with it. And the person I wanted to help me was caught up in their own things. I'll just leave it at that. And I became rudderless. I didn't get into them, and then I also just realized once I did want to start doing them is that they were too big. They were going to be things I needed money for, and that my job wasn't going to just cover. And so I just pushed them off, and they were going to be kind of one-off stories that were going to actually kind of connect because my plan was to eventually have them lead to even bigger shorts that would connect all of them. It just didn't come to fruition. It was just going to be too hard to pull off, and I needed money to do so. And so Johnny moved in with my girlfriend and I for a little bit, and they really pushed me to, and this is something I want to talk about on this. Just because I'm a filmmaker doesn't mean that that's the only kind of storytellers I want to have on, because I want authors. I want people that work in video games. I want all these different things. Just because your preferred medium is, for me it's film, which is, it ain't cheap. Just because that one wasn't working out, why not consider another medium? And so Johnny pushed me towards audio drama. Stories that you tell just through audio, through sound effects, through music, through voice acting. Theoretically, your budget is unlimited. And so I've been writing scripts for a first season. Six scripts, tangentially connected. I don't want to go into super detail or say the title, stuff like that, till we get things really off the ground, but I'm loving it. It is what is creatively fulfilling me at the moment. It is so much fun, and I'm learning as I'm going, finding out the best way to I watched a bunch of videos that Johnny gave me on how some people have done audio dramas and how they format them, and kind of finding a way, taking, okay, I like this, but then also making it my own. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. It is very much what is driving me at the moment, and I think about it every single day. I listen to music to think about ideas for it, and I really just can't wait to see what it becomes, because I'm really passionate about it, and I think it could be really fun for people to see. I have I have a lot of plans for it should it really take off, and I want to get as many of my friends in on it as I can, because I think one of my biggest goals is to find my people. There's a phrase that it's hard to make friendships when you're an adult, and I think that is kind of true in some ways. I think it's more so just it's hard to find time with your friends when you're an adult. And I'll be honest, besides my girlfriend and my best friends at home that I still text every day, every other day, FaceTime them, stuff like that. Besides my family and like those friends and my girlfriend, it's very lonely down here. I'll be completely transparent. My friends are all so busy, and I never want to inconvenience them, and we're all just so geographically spread out over the LA area, and it's just I do feel lonely a lot, but I want to find my friends that I know I can rely on, and I want to do whatever it takes to show them that I can be someone that they can rely on. I can be a go-to friend, because there are ones I'm thinking about right now that they really mean so much to me, and I want them to know that I want them to know that, and I really want to make more friends and really find my troop, find my crew, find my people that I'm like, okay, we are all in this for the same reasons, none of them selfish, and we all want to just make art, and we all want to see each other succeed, so why not create the opportunities for each other to succeed? And that's why there's I want them to be in on this series, because maybe it takes off, maybe someone else hears their voice and they're like, wow, maybe I could have them on my project, something like that. Their performance stands out, and that makes someone else notice that, makes them notice them and want to help them with their career. If I could help even one person in my cast or crew get another opportunity from what we're doing, that would mean so much to me. Obviously, I also want those opportunities for me, but you help one person, maybe that person can help you down the road. So I think that's going to do it for this inaugural episode. I don't know the exact length I'm always shooting for these. I wanted to this is my introduction and kind of a general idea of what the show is going to be about. Yes, like I said, is me, a struggling storyteller, in talking about the struggles of storytelling, of trying to get your stories out there and get them told. There's a Jack Kirby, co-creator of Captain America, co-creator of the Fantastic Four, creator of the New Gods, all these different things in comic book, in the comic book spaces. And there's this story that is told where an artist who's a fan of his at a comic convention showed him a piece of art, and Jack Kirby, who had been done so wrong so many different times in the comic book industry, he told him, to paraphrase, that his art he should put his art in galleries instead of comic books. And he told him, because comics will break your heart. This industry that he had loved that just did not give him that love in many ways in return. I never want film to be that for me, but I never want any of my art to be that. I don't want to have my heart broken by the thing I love, which is to tell stories. And I'm hoping the show can give me that place to vent, can give me that place to, gather people, like-minded individuals who are feeling that same way, who don't want the story of their career to be that it broke them and it broke their heart. Because this industry will, at least mine and many others, they will, chew you up and spit you out, to paraphrase, to say it. But I'm really excited for what this can be. I really want to reach out to people. And as far as the YouTube channel, the podcast will live here. I'm also going to be doing gameplay. I'm going to be playing video games on there, not just a guy gaming. Going to be looking at storytelling. That you think of that as a companion piece where I'm looking at a story and I'm talking about the storytelling in it, so that we can kind of glean more and maybe find ways to apply that to our own story. But that's going to do it. I don't really have an outro, so maybe I'll just spew some of my things that I say, like set goals, not limits, don't chase the accolades, and love what you love. I have been your host, not just a guy, the guy, Garrett Briones, and I'll see you next time.